What up, folks? This is your boy Dino, aka your Solid Five, one half of the Boo Crew. I have some special guests today. I have Aaron sorry again,
That's all right, Erin Anya.
Anya, and Kyle Valle. So you guys did ZombieCon Volume One, and how's the ride been so far? I mean, it seems like you guys have been very successful.
Thank you. I'll let you take this one away.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a very long production journey, so it's crazy that it's finally out there. It's amazing hearing people's feedback and hearing reviews come in and friends and family and just people that we don't know reaching out. It's been an absolute blast. We're thrilled and honored, honestly, to have it out there and people finding it, loving it, finding, the love and authenticity that went into it. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, after a 10-year journey of making it and being in post-production and being in basically a cave surrounded by screens and not hearing really much feedback at all and kind of banging my head against the wall. And I know everyone else involved with it did as well. It's been really fantastic just to get it out there. And I think we've already had more success than we ever really thought possible. At one point, I was like, all I want to do is add it to my iTunes collection. I want to be able to buy it and add it to that collection.
Yeah.
And it's gone so much further than that, which has been it's just been amazing to see.
So let's actually just backtrack for for the start of it all. Um, so Aaron, when did you actually start acting?
I started acting professionally when I was about 7, 8 years old. I got a talent agent in Atlanta, kind of fell into it. And thankfully, strangely enough, horror has been a continued thread that I've been booking throughout my life. But yeah, I've been at this a long time.
Yeah, and I noticed you were on Dance of the Dead. So like how was that experience? Because I mean that was a pretty like fast-paced, movie for the most part. I mean, you got zombies like flying around and like ripping people apart and stuff and
Yeah,
like
Dance of the Dead, an incredible project. Like it's an indie film that I don't know how it doesn't have more awareness, more fans out there because to me it's one of my favorite zombie movies. I know I'm biased and ZombieCon Vol 1 is one as well. But yeah, that was shot in Georgia probably about 15 years ago. Awesome director, Greg Bishop, and it just was fun, fast paced. It was shot actually in a high school at night, an abandoned high school. So it was
oh
kind of a
wow.
creepy set as well. And of course, practical. So one of my first experiences with tons of fake blood everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, the concept of it being set on a prom night when the zombie outbreak happens and there's music involved and it was like a rocking film set and a really really fun experience. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah. I saw it pretty sure I saw it when it came out. And then I saw it again recently because I wanted to see, just stuff that you were involved with. And it's just a fun movie. It's funny, there's a lot of action. Um, yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, you know. Definitely there's a different take on, zombies, so but in a fun way.
Oh, absolutely. And my character initially was going to have this big scene where I would get transformed, killed by a zombie, and they made a whole mold of my neck. And like I had sitting in a makeup chair for hours, a whole plaster mold, and there was going to be this big scene with a science teacher and like biting me and us, having this whole fight. And that ended up hitting the cutting room floor. But it was a really cool experience because I think that might have been my first horror project. And it went all the way to South by Southwest and obviously had a big run. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great film.
And yeah, no, I do remember seeing it like I think just after it came out, and I was like, and I love horror, I love horror obviously, but I love zombie stuff especially. So I
Hmm.
was like, a zombie movie, dude. I'm like there, all every single time. I'm like, I'm gonna watch, whatever movie it is, and it was just, yeah, I was already signed up. Um, let's talk. Man, you've done a lot, or but Quarantine 2. Oddly enough, well, I haven't watched it since, but the time I watched it, like, after the first one, I was like, I actually like this one better than the first one.
Oh, right
So,
on.
yeah. What was your experience on that?
That was also a really cool shoot, also in Georgia. Go Georgia. But that one took place at an abandoned factory in this tiny town in Georgia. I think it was an abandoned sock factory, but it was doubling as the terminal that was empty where we all arrive and are quarantined in. And it was a really tight-knit cast and crew
Right.
because of course it was, super small group of passengers on this flight that get stranded. We all got to know each other really well. And I guess one of my cooler stories from set was at the time I was really into like flexibility, still am, but I could do this cool back bend. And I had shown a couple of the cast members, and then some of them were saying, "Oh, that would be really creepy as a zombie, if you transformed." And I was like, maybe, I was a little shy, but I'm like, maybe I'll bring it to the director, producer. And I did, hey, this could be cool. I can do this. Don't know if you want to, write it in. And boom, just like that, they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go. Let's shoot it. And
Right.
so my character, I don't even think was going to be on screen, or maybe just in the background, you see Nika turns into a zombie. But I ended up having that cool kind of back bend, and it looked a lot cooler in the final product because they had added the sound of the bones and vertebrae cracking, which I thought was a nice touch. But yeah, it was a great experience. It was really great cast and crew, and I thought the film looked great too, really high quality.
Um, and Kyle, so like, growing up, I mean, were you a zombie fan also?
Oh, of course. I mean, horror, sci-fi. I would generally consider myself to be a fan of like all movies, but I mean, who doesn't love especially the Romero zombie verse,
Oh yeah.
which yeah, that's what I was first introduced to. I think I was like 8, maybe younger, and it was like the black and white one. What is that? Oh my God, I'm
Night,
blanking.
Night
Night
of
of
the
the
Dead.
Living
Yeah.
Dead. Yeah, yeah. And then the next one I saw was the one in the abandoned shopping mall. Not the
Dawn.
remake, Dawn of the Dead. And that was
Yeah.
by far my favorite. And that like kind of I'd say was the genesis to any zombie idea I ever had after that point was thinking about how you could have like reclaimed tools that were left over after the collapse and how you could like have so much fun reinventing either cities or more importantly and more coolly like weapons. Like what kind of makeshift weapons can you like pull together from the available assets to
Right.
defend yourself and kind of fight them off. And yeah, that was probably my favorite. The remake though was great too.
Yeah.
Snyder's remake was really good.
I think
So
we just became best friends. So, the interesting thing, I just saw a documentary on how the original Resident Evil movie was supposed to be directed by George Romero.
really, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't either until somebody actually sent me all the info, and then I watched it. It was incredible. You can find it on Amazon, whatever. But like yeah, he was hired to do the original, but then they fired him eventually because creative differences. And I
Mm.
was like, why would you not want to get the master of zombies to not? But apparently it was a whole like big big wig thing, and I was like,
Yeah,
this sucks.
that
This
would it would have been epic to see his take on that. I don't know because I felt like the first Resident Evil was like, I mean, I was into the video games like that was back when PlayStation was the console, and I remember Resident Evil 2 was like a big deal when I got that. Like I think it was like Christmas or a birthday. It was a big gift, and I just remember like scaring the crap out of myself. Like you turn off all the lights and you got the volume up loud. You're like right in front of the TV playing. Like so if
on the
something
tank
shoots
controls
out of
too
the
were so crazy. Like it was so hard to move. You're like, I can't get away.
yeah. And that was also I love look, today everyone's got wireless controllers, but back
Yeah,
then, right, you had the wired controller. So you were forced to be a lot closer to the television and the televisions were smaller too. So you're like
you can't run.
really like pressing yourself into the game itself. Yeah. So that was a blast. But I would have loved to see his take. I remember something similar to that happened with Edgar Wright with Ant Man, weirdly enough, because I think they had him set to direct that film. And then, like you said, creative differences, big wigs. I don't know what the politics of it were, but I guess he wanted to do kind of a more Edgar Wright-ish film, and they kind of have, the Marvel universe kind of has like a similar feel from movie to movie, and I guess his was a little
Right.
bit more unique.
They have a formula for sure.
Yeah,
That's why, like, a lot of times, smaller productions can be better because you have actual room to be creative and do what you want, and do it the way in your style and whatnot. So, but I'm a Marvel fan, so I still watch them. You know,
Of
yeah,
course.
of course.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, I remember when personally, Infinity War is my favorite, and I thought that the CGI they did with Thanos was like, I don't think we've gotten past that in terms of a CGI character being so realistic. Even in Endgame, I think maybe they were like rushed for time. I don't know, or maybe because Endgame relied on the success of Infinity Wars. I felt like it wasn't like as refined in that film as it was in Infinity Wars, and also like Infinity Wars kind of has Empire Strikes Back vibes, like, obviously ending on this huge cliffhanger. The bad guys kind of win, which is, super rare, obviously, in movies. And
right?
I don't know, I always love that. That was like always my favorite. And whenever I have a headache or something, I usually pop that on because it just like calms me down weirdly.
It's his number one go-to for a headache.
Yeah.
If anyone out there is suffering, you got to just sit in the shower, get your iPad out, just turn it on, you'll be good.
Yeah. That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, I mean, that's just that one is so good. I mean, it's funny. I just talked to somebody that just worked with Josh Brolin, and I was like, how is it to like be hugged by Josh Brolin? I was like, you were hugged by Thanos. Um,
Epic.
That's awesome. I love the behind the scenes sets from photos from that set where I've seen a few of Brolin in like that, like Thanos, especially I guess it's that one specifically when Thor sticks Stormbreaker right in his chest and they
yeah,
had
yeah,
like a big gray kind of Thanos bust on him, I guess for the motion track or so that, Chris Hemsworth could act with him. I don't know why they had it on. I mean, we're low budget indie filmmakers, so the most CGI or like VFX that we do are like little eyes here and there. Like we're not creating whole characters. So I'm not super
right.
familiar with how that works, but I always love that behind the scenes photo.
Yeah, I mean, movie magic is crazy, especially when you got, the money behind it and the resources. It's just like you can do so many things and you don't even know, until you like again, until you see those special features and you're like, oh snap, like that's crazy how they did that. But I
Yeah.
wish I can get involved in all that stuff, but unfortunately it just hasn't happened for me yet.
Hey,
Um,
we're in the same boat, and you never know what's around the corner, man.
That's right.
yeah, I do right, but that's as far as I go. Um,
Nice.
so what got you into directing?
Acting started as an actor, like went the traditional route. I remember when I was like super young, I was sitting on the stairs and I was like thinking about movies and I was like, oh, I'd love to be a director. And then I didn't even verbalize it. And I thought internally, well, that's impossible. You've got to know someone, in the industry. I'm in New Jersey at the time. Like, I have no idea I've never heard of someone actually making a movie, being in a movie, anything. So I
Right.
let it go. And then at the end of college, it was kind of one of those, okay, are you going to start your life and get like a job that your degree was set for? And is this going to be the rest of your life? Or are you never going to actually try this? And I don't think I could have forgiven myself. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a little bit of time and give it a shot. And went to California, started as an actor, kind of doing stuff. I was super nervous in the auditioning process. I don't know why. Usually I'm not a nervous guy, but that for whatever reason was like crippling anxiety. And so I thought, oh, well, if I learn how to do everything else and I learn what they're casting and like how to direct and stuff, maybe I can get over this anxiety and like because I'll understand how the whole thing works and what they're looking for. And then that started with a couple of short films that I'm like, I kind of like directing way more than acting. This is awesome. And then it just kind of snowballed into this thing. And I'm kind of a control freak too. So it fit my personality.
I think you were born to be a director. You're a fantastic actor
Thank
too,
you.
but yeah, you're born to be a director.
I like telling people what to do.
Man,
So it's so much pressure being on set. Like I would love to direct, but I even through all of our years, it's never called to me like this is the project that I need to jump in on.
No, but
And
you're a great though second idea. I mean, you directed me in this last film we just shot. We did a little horror film in the house that we're currently living at. Kind of get the dust off the wheels and get another movie going because this other one took 10 years to make. And I was the actor because you were pregnant. So we're like, you can't be the titular character in a horror film screaming and
no,
like want our future child to be like, oh, what's
yeah.
happening out there?
no
Mom's
stress for
getting killed.
baby.
So I took it upon myself to be the actor, and we had a 3-person crew, so Erin was pulling focus, and we had little walkie talkies, or if the batteries ran out, she'd just scream across the house, do this. Like,
That sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
it was really fun. Yeah, that was a total role reversal because we've done so many like shorts and web series and then ZombieCon Vol 1 and to shoot this feature, he was totally in front of the camera after setting up the shot and everything. It was, up to me and then our friend Chad Tolson, who was the boom guy. It was the two of us. That's it. That's the only crew members. It was
and Nicole.
and Nicole, of
Yeah.
course. Nicole McCauley was another actress in the film. She's Mama Bear in ZombieCon Vol 1. Had to bring her back for this horror as well. But she's a great makeup artist as well. So she came
I
on
saw
for this one
her
too.
profile because I was like, should I text her? Should I mail, message her or whatever? But I was like, yeah. But yeah, I saw her, all of her stuff, and I'm like, that's amazing. She's been on so many things, and I
Oh,
was like, it blew my mind.
Oh,
she's had an
you
insane
should
career.
if you get a chance to have her on, I would definitely recommend it. Her stories are, I mean, she grew up in the entertainment industry, and
Mhm.
like every time I sit down with her and talk to her, she's like, "Oh, I got to tell you about this time that I was hanging out with Robert Downey Jr. or this time I was hanging out with Johnny Depp or this time that I was like, do you know every single person in Hollywood and can you introduce me?"
Why are you the coolest person in the world?
Mm. So Aaron, real quick, did you have any experience watching zombie films before you did? You started jumping into all the.
Yeah, I mean, just as much as anyone else. I have to admit, though, I think Shaun of the Dead is still my favorite zombie
So
film.
good.
I can't get and Warm Bodies. It's not that I don't love like just the straight horror. I do, but something about the humor in Shaun of the Dead, it just always kills. You could rewatch it a billion times and you're still laughing out loud. And then Warm Bodies, I just remember watching that in theater and I went in blind. I had no idea the movie, I was going with a group of friends. I'm sitting here watching Nicholas Holt, who I don't think had done very much, or well, he had, but I wasn't familiar with his work at the time. And just this totally different take on the zombie genre and perspective of the zombie. It was amazing. So I think those two are still my top two, but I've had such a unique experience with also being in a bunch of horror that horror just feels kind of home and familiar to me. I don't know.
Warm
It's
Bodies
been
the one where he like falls in love with a chick,
Yeah, that
right?
was
Like,
a yeah, Warm
sorry, he
Body.
like becomes aware or something like that. Like,
hmm
Yeah,
you
Warm Bodies. He like falls in love with like the daughter of the guy who like runs the survival like city.
okay,
So it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet type thing with zombies. And
right,
I think one of the coolest parts about Warm Bodies I thought were the actual like, so they've got, obviously he's kind of like a good guy zombie,
yeah.
and then they've got the bad guy zombies, and the bad guy zombies are actually pretty terrifying. Like in terms, they were pretty. I think they were fast moving, so there were a lot of really high end chase scenes. I'm kind of remembering something at like an airport terminal where I think that there was like a whole horde of them chasing the main characters. But yeah, it was a pretty good movie.
And now that we're on the zombie train, you got to talk about Train to Busan.
Oh yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah. But what did you
Incredible.
guys think of the sequel though?
I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it hit the same marks as Train to
Right.
Busan, but that's also like, I mean, that's a really, really high mark to hit. I mean, to make a
Yeah.
movie that good
hmm
is almost impossible to begin with. To do it twice with the same, with kind of continuing the story, because a lot of Train to Busan, I felt like it was like the originality of the idea of like, because we know I had never seen a movie where we had it encapsulated in a train. Maybe that one with Captain America, was it
Winter Soldier.
No, no,
No.
the train movie where he's
Oh, Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer, but I think that came out after Train to Busan. But yeah, I just love the concept, and yeah, I mean, it was just a super high mark to hit. So I don't knock him for not being able to reach it again because that I mean that's
What did you think of it?
I loved it. I saw it and I told my buddy, I'm like, dude, you gotta see this movie. It's like it's everything that you love about zombie films, yada yada yada. I mean, how terrifying is it to be stuck on a train, full of corpse, and everybody's trying to eat you, etc. Like that's
yeah.
just
Oh yeah. I love that
Horrifying.
strong character too. The guy who's like the I don't know if he was like a meant to be a bodybuilder, like what he was in his like civilian life before the train got going. But he tapes up the what is it, the Yellow Pages books or something to
Yeah.
his
oh yeah,
arms. And he's got that door in that epic scene where his like pregnant wife is behind him and he's like holding the door and he was kind of reluctant to help the more business type guy the entire time and they
yeah.
come through and they bite him and he's still holding that door. I mean, that scene, I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it, talking about it. Like I freaking love that scene in particular. It was awesome.
Just rips your heart out.
Oh yeah, like any good zombie movie.
Exactly.
Um, so leading up to ZombieCon and all that stuff. Did either one of you guys go to like the Comic Con events and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Well, we got with the ZombieCon was awesome because after we got done filming, we were thinking, how do we get the word out about the film? I was really struggling in post production, and I was kind of secretly hoping that someone would see it at a con and be like, "Oh, great, we'll buy it and finish it for you." I was
Wouldn't
like, I
that be
don't know how to
nice?
do all this stuff. Uh, but that never happened. But what we did get to do was we got to justify going to all these conventions. And I had been going to conventions since I was a little kid, but I didn't get to go as frequently as I did at that point because now all of a sudden going to a convention, it's a tax write off. We have kind of like a money making purpose. So I kind of justify spending the money to go. And being in Los Angeles at the time was also super convenient because you've got LA Comic Con, Anime Expo, and San Diego is so close that we even were able to go to Comic Con itself a couple times. And that was, I mean, the way they
Mind
transformed that
blowing.
city and like turned the whole Gaslamp district into basically like an extension of the con with like restaurants putting out different menus and like it's all themed to different types of comic books and different types of pop culture references. It was some of my best memories like ever. It was awesome.
And in a different way, but it was almost as cool going to the much smaller cons and like
Yeah.
fan meetups in LA because we did that too for ZombieCon Vol 1. And it's a totally different feel because, of course, Comic Con's like the mecca of all conventions. LA Comic Con, Anime Expo, you've got hundreds of thousands of people. And everyone that you basically ever met at any of the other cons is usually there as well. But at the tiny fan gatherings and meetups, like there was Poke Oasis was super super cool.
Yeah, it was
Comic
cool.
Con Palm Springs, Comic Excitement. There's a really, it's almost like an indie set. Like you have that organic authenticity. There's not that many people there. You really get to know the people you are cosplaying with or doing cosplay videos with. So we had a good mix of the big and small on our journey.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a lot more freedom at the smaller cons, especially with cosplay when you're filming cosplay and stuff. Because, in the big cons, it's so crowded that you got to kind of build an area out. Feel like, hey,
Yeah,
everyone stand back. We're trying to get something filmed here.
right.
And it's just hard. At the smaller cons, it's still in these convention spaces, but they won't rent out the entire thing. And there's a fraction of the amount of people. So you have all this room to play and you could do a lot more fun stuff. And I don't know. I love participating with the cosplayers. Well, I like to cosplay first off, but I really like to be behind the camera and film cosplay. And then we did a bunch of cosplay videos, and our VFX artist on ZombieCon, Manny Luke, who plays Rocket in the film, actually would come in, and I'd be like, "Okay, Manny, so I need you to give me some VFX for this cosplay video." He's like, "I'm working on ZombieCon. It's okay. We're gonna get back to that." But I told these cosplayers would make them look really cool. I need some electricity for electro. I need the most difficult one I think was the guy from My Hero Academia who has the bird that comes out of him. Is that
Dark Shadow? No.
Dark Shadow.
Yeah.
That's the name of the entity.
Tokiyami.
Tokiyama, yeah. And I was like, so can you add Dark Shadow to this cosplay? And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, just like pull it out of the anime and just like kind of animated it. And I don't know how he did it, but yeah, he added Dark Shadow to a bunch of people's cosplays, which I thought was super sick.
We couldn't just make a cosplay video. The filmmaker in you and also being in the middle of editing ZombieCon Ball 1. It's yeah, let's add the VFX. Let's, really make the cosplays come to life. It was fun.
Yeah.
I've never been to like any Comic Cons. I don't know, the experience. I wanted to, but for some reason, it's always just like on a week or something like that where like I just can't go, and I'm like, shit, like this sucks, but eventually, I'll get there. How about like horror cons? Do you guys ever go to those?
Yeah, I used to go to a lot as kids. When I got older, I know that we almost went to the HorrorCon Los Angeles. I forget the exact name of it, but it happens the weekend before LA Comic Con. And we were supposed to go this year, but it was just kind of a disaster. We have a 5 month old baby. And so like wrangling grandparents to be babysitters is difficult because
Yeah.
they're all like, we've got lives too,
They have
It's like,
lives? What?
you shouldn't. You're a grandparent. This is your number one responsibility now.
Yeah, you're number one babysitter now, so get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, I've only been to one. I went to one in San Francisco called the Walker Stalkerthon,
Oh,
and
cool.
it was actually very very cool. I got to meet I don't know why I can't think of his name all of a sudden, but Merle from Walking Dead.
Oh,
Oh,
awesome.
nice.
Yeah, I took a picture with him, and he was so friendly and nice, and I was just like, just starstruck. I'm like, you're Merle, and you're everything else, and you worked with Kevin Smith and shit like that. And I'm just like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, I guess I'll just keep it moving, but
So
yeah, it was.
I actually worked with Carol from The Walking Dead, Melissa McBride,
Uh,
way back in the day because I had gotten started acting in Atlanta when I was younger, and she played my mom in this short film, and I got to know her really well. She's an incredible woman. Like obviously she's an amazing actor as well, but she's awesome. And then all of a sudden I'm watching Walking Dead one day, and I'm like, oh my God, there she is. And then Walking Dead is just exploding and
yeah,
taking on a whole life of its own.
Yeah, that was
Amazing.
awesome to see and be able to be like old enough to appreciate it, both from a filmmaker's point of view, but also to be like in the zeitgeist for it, like not too young, not too old, like perfect age range, and to be able to see it kind of grow. And Gail Ann Hurd, which I didn't realize I think she was the exec producer on it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until like years later. And I thought that was like the cool, like I'm a huge James Cameron fan. So I was like I always watch all his interviews and stuff on YouTube. And I'm like, oh, I found one with him and Gail Ann Hurd, like for an Aliens, combination screening. Like they got a bunch of the cast together and they were talking and he threw his hat off. He's like, oh, and what about, and Walking Dead's doing great. And I was like, where does this tie in? And then she's like, and then we found out, obviously, she's the exec producer on it. And I was like, that's freaking awesome. I had
yeah,
no idea. Like one of the most like talented, powerful people in Hollywood was like pushing that series through, which is just really cool to have someone like that behind a zombie movie, which it happens, but it's rarer usually.
right. It's funny. And this is even before I knew Walking Dead even came out. And I was writing like a zombie TV show, right? And I was like two episodes in, and well, I'm still kind of writing it, but like it's about the actual day one of a zombie invasion, right? So I was writing it, and I was all happy and excited about it, and all of a sudden, like Walking Dead, I'm all, I was like, never mind. I closed the book, I'm like, this is already
Oh
like
no.
perfect. This film's already perfect. I can't even, there's nothing I could do to like, make my version any better. So, and then Fear the Walking Dead came out too. And I'm like, it's the same thing. It's like, but different stories or whatever. But I was so sad. But I still write on it sometimes just to kind of get the brain to fire off and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely.
What's your
And
favorite script or screenplay idea that you've ever written?
You know, I don't, they're all unique in a way. I just came up with this idea because of my friend. She doesn't go to therapy because she's had nothing but bad experiences with it. So I was like, she told me that one of her therapists fell asleep on her, and
Oh.
I thought that was hysterical. So so I was like, why don't I make something where it's like um you know she's like trying to find a therapist, but they're all the worst, right? So like one falls asleep on her, one's like drawing her as like a pinup girl, and like and just like all these like different things, right? And then so I was like, why don't we do like a speed dating of like therapist, where it's like you're trying to find the one that you like click with, like right away. So I started writing that one, and like her life is like not like shitty because of her. It's just shitty because of all like the circumstances that she has to deal with. And I started writing that one, and I was like, that one was fun. But everything I write is just different. Like they're not really. Some of them are vain in comedy, but well, mainly comedy and horror. So, but then there's one like drama that me and my uh, buddy started writing. We're like I think 2 episodes in, uh, but it's still based in comedy as well. So it's kind of like a mix of mostly in comedy. But I do love horror. Like horror is my number one. Yeah,
Nice.
I
That's awesome.
I just my brain just fires off just random ideas, and sometimes I'm like, I gotta write it, I gotta write it, I gotta write it. Otherwise I forget it.
I know that
You
is.
gotta get it out.
Yeah. So when did the Big Squid come about?
That happened what in 2015,
Officially, I think it was
2014?
2014.
Yeah. So we were doing these short films, and then we were going to get into doing uh, well, what turned out to be a failed thing, but it was going to be a competitor to YouTube. It was like 10,000 bucks. It was called Mew Now TV. And we got the whole website running and we did a whole bunch of original shows for it. But when we were kind of moving in that direction, we figured we needed a real production company because in order to hire SAG actors, you need to have insurance and all this other stuff. So in order to get that stuff, it really is better to have the production company just get the legal protections for everything and make sure everything's above board. And yeah, that's where it all came from. And the name came from my lifetime love for Architeuthis or the giant squid. And I used to want to be when I was in kindergarten the first person to film one alive underwater, but I think a Japanese scientist used a special lure that mimics the bioluminescence of deep sea jellyfish that they usually prey on, and was finally able to get some footage of one.
Mm.
That was before I could ever even hope to be able to do it, but that's pretty
Maybe you
cool.
can be the second person.
Now I think they got another one on
Maybe the third. There's hope. Just
yeah,
keep going.
yeah.
But yeah, Big Squid Productions, we started in 2014, 2015, and alongside what Kyle was saying about our streaming service that we'd been working with and or starting and the web series and shorts, it was like, all right, it's time for us to, really take this thing to the next level. And ZombieCon Vol 1 was the natural evolution as well with all of that. But yeah, it's been a really crazy journey. Having your own independent production company, it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think those are really just the two main things I could say about it. Insane work, insane fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a ton of work.
The learning curve. I mean, just to research like you've been doing all these years, a piece of equipment and understand one, if it's worth your investment, two, if how once you get it, you're gonna integrate it with your other pieces of equipment. It's just every last thing takes time and dedication. And it's not the like sexy fun things that you think about. Oh, let's go shoot a movie. We have a production company. It's you sitting there researching YouTube videos on, I don't even know the next brand name of product. If this thing is worth the extra $1,000 or if you can go and get a product for $100 less, it's
It's also
insane.
physically demanding to have such a small production crew and everything because it's like, I would love to be able to sit in a director's chair or look at a monitor or just hold the camera even and be like, oh, yeah, carry that C stand over there, set up that light, do this, do that. But, on ZombieCon, we had one gaffer and Edwin, who was listed as a cinematographer, who did do a lot of the camera stuff, was also helping out as a gaffer. So we had two people kind of moving C stands and stuff. But on every other project, it's 9 out of 10 times me. lugging the sandbags around, lugging the C stands around, setting up the lighting, and every time you move a shot, it's, hundreds of pounds of gear are moving from room to room. So
Right.
it's physically exhausting. And when I was younger, I didn't really think much of it. Now, as I'm getting older, I'm like, oh, do we really need that
I was about
backlight?
to say, then you got me in your ear going, do we really need that shot? Maybe we could cheat it a little bit.
But then you're like, oh, you got to. If you've
You
already got
gotta.
everything else set up, you you don't want to have to get covered in blood again. So you're like, all right, might as well just bring the extra light down.
Yeah, I talked to somebody from Benny Loves You, and she said that like there was no film crew. It was just like, the creator, the actors, and I think like one production person. So everybody was just on set like holding boomstick, lighting. Like I was like, that's so cool though, like so intimate and like a sense that like you guys are all creating this one thing, and it's like the way you want it and the way that the one person, envisions it. And it was just like that's just to me amazing. But
It's kind of like being a mangaka. For like the way I look at it, like in Japan, right? So the people who write the manga artists,
yeah,
they have a couple assistants sometimes to help fill in background work if the series is big enough. Like I think Oda has like 10 assistants who fill in background work, but he still does all of the dialogue and all of the main drawing himself. And same with all of the other manga artists. And it's total creative control. And I think that's also why you get such strong creative stories coming out of anime and manga, especially because it is, like you were saying, it's that intimate process where you're in control of everything and you can do things that would generally not necessarily appeal to a big company, or if there's a lot of people involved, lots of cooks in the kitchen, you can't really take as big of a risk on things. And sometimes those risks don't work out, and but when they do work out, it's like the world gets something they've never seen before, and it's absolute magic.
Yeah, there's two sides of the coin there for sure, where it's like a blessing and a curse. You don't have a team of producers that you have to go run things by and approve things, and you can move a lot faster in that way. But because it's up to you, then, right? I mean, you're doing the work yourself, but you ultimately get to see your vision through or as best that you can, given your resources and limitations. I like your example with the mangaka. When you're on set, to me, sometimes it feels like you're in a submarine. It's like you got to make yourself useful. Everyone that's sitting there breathing the oxygen, like, do you have a hand, an extra hand? What? Why isn't it doing something? Like,
right,
we
right.
need all the help we can get to keep this thing, running.
Yeah, and in ZombieCon, that came in like everyone pitched in on every single thing, and the outfits and the costuming was super like complicated, especially towards the end of the film where we've got layered costumes with this EVA foam, padding and protection. All those pieces were velcroed on, which made it a nightmare for sound, obviously, which terrible idea on my part, but we fixed it. But this velcro was supposed to be like the heavy duty velcro you could put in a garage and hang tools up by. It's supposed to hold 40 pounds,
Okay.
but I guess because it was like curved on the suits and there wasn't like a flush right angle for anything,
Right.
it was not holding this foam
It just
armor
played
onto these
off. Yeah.
costumes. Yeah, they would just like fly off in the middle of takes or anything like that. So as the crew is all now moving and circling and getting the lights all reset or something like that, the actors are all running around grabbing each other's armor. And then at one point, we had gone through this so many times, they stopped asking. They knew exactly where the armor went, and they're just re-armoring each other up, slapping the pieces on.
Slap a piece on Punky's hip, slap one on, Christian's bicep. Just you know exactly where they go. No
Well, she
words
can just
needed.
buy me a drink first at least. Yeah.
Yeah, we had each other's like blood, sweat, grime, snot. We had each other's like everything all over each other. It was a very intimate production.
Yeah, and we did do a little bit of drinking too. At the end of like some hard shoot days, we got to sit down. We pulled up the dailies. We had a computer down in our bedroom because we filmed a lot of the stuff in our old apartment. And the bedroom was one of the only places you only see it one time in the film. It's Rocket's bedroom in the film. But apart from that, it was kind of like where we stored all the extra gear, as much of it as we could get in there. And had a little computer up there so I could download the footage and duplicate it onto hard drives. And everyone would come down and just like we'd all have a drink and like probably a slice of pizza left over from lunch crafty, and we're just watching all the dailies, and it was a great like team building funtivity to have at the end of each day.
We'd still have fake blood like all
Oh
over
yeah.
ourselves, or Christian and I, like various stages of green and blue paint. And yet that was the moment after all that hard work during the day where you're crowded together, huddling over this little screen, seeing the magic of what we captured. Like, yes, okay, we can, tomorrow's going to be a great day. No matter what we face, this is the kind of thing that we're filming. All right, it's worth
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
So what sparked the idea of ZombieCon? Is just everything that you loved, or
Well, it was a multi-tiered, but the thing that like was the actual spark, we were in after we got done with these short films, we did this streaming service, and it was like we weren't getting attention. I did not understand marketing. I didn't like the streaming services back then. You had Netflix, but it was still like new. YouTube was getting there. Like there were a few big creators, but like it wasn't as normalized as it is now. Now it's like, basically synonymous with what television used to be. But it was still like this kind of new territory. So I wasn't sure how to break into and get people to watch. And especially it was a different website. So I was like, you know what, if we do a movie, maybe that'll be big enough to get people to come watch a streaming service, because everyone's kind of poo-pooing our little series. We're in Hollywood. Everyone was kind of shunning YouTube stuff and digital creators, content creators like back then, because it was like, well, that's not Hollywood. So we can't really do that or participate in it. SAG-AFTRA didn't even require you to pay SAG actors at the time. You had like a web release where you could do a new media contract where it was basically there was no guarantees, it was zero money, and you could have SAG actors in content for YouTube and for online with no standard payment, no base salary, which was totally unique in the world of SAG-AFTRA because everyone gets paid with the unions. And so as we're going through this process of trying to do something big to get attention, we visited my brother in Orlando, and he collects like a ton of movie props. He always has. He's got like a wall of Predator masks and like
mm,
every lightsaber you could imagine. And
it. His house is a museum.
yeah, it really is. He
The
could pay
whole
admission
house.
to his house. It's crazy. And on the wall, I saw a Captain America shield, and I don't know why. I just thought, man, it'd be so cool to like see someone in this house get attacked by zombies and like grab that shield and just start using it as an actual weapon. And that's what kind of then sparked the idea. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'm thinking about my time at cons and cosplayers. I'm like, well, a group of cosplayers would have all this stuff. And then one thing leads to the other, and then ZombieCon is born through just basically that shield on the wall of my brother's house.
Thank you, Captain America. And
Yeah.
thank you, Chad Valley.
Yes.
um, and so like, how did like the whole casting start for ZombieCon?
So when I was in the process of like developing the story and creating the characters, first off, low budget stuff. So you have to work with people because we weren't going to really be able to go out and cast the titular roles, because the main four characters, these were all friends of ours that we had worked with on different projects leading up to it. And I knew that for especially the main four, we're going to have long shoot days. They were going to need to be involved on every single one of the shoot days. There were no off days for any of the main four actors. And there was just no real way to cast someone like that and work with them and like try to pay them out of this minuscule budget we had. It was the natural conclusion, like cast your friends. And they're also like some of the coolest people I know. So writing characters for them was very easy too, because their personalities and you can kind of use those to inform some small, like some medium sized to strong elements of the characterizations while still changing enough to make them unique in their own right. And so it was both easy, comfortable, and we were a team. We
Necessary.
did
Yeah.
everything together leading up to that point. We had all shot all this stuff together, so it was like the natural conclusion to that multi-year journey leading up to it, casting those four. And for everyone else in the film, Erin actually served as the casting director, and we did get a casting space, and you did a call out to people in Los Angeles.
We held professional casting sessions in the middle of Los Angeles, had hundreds of people submitting, self-submitting or their agents submitting, and read a bunch of people. Actually, Javier, Christian Casillas, was sitting in with me as well. Melissa Rodriguez, who plays one of Xander's girls, she was integral as well with this. But yeah, we had professional casting and then a combination of people that we had worked with in other projects from our web series and short films, brought on some of them. And especially for the convention scene, that was kind of the more interesting casting experience because we wanted to have real cosplayers wearing their actual cosplays. So about half the crowd, I had just been reaching out to cosplayers locally on Instagram and got a bunch of the actors that way who came and were wearing their own cosplay and kind of made it a little bit more authentic, I think, in the final scene.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic, and also it helped with the budget too because people were bringing their cosplay. We did have a budget for the film, but it was super small. So you could have conceivably gotten extras, paid the extras and gotten cosplay for them, but it would have not been nearly as good as having people who invested, the tens or hundreds of hours to create their cosplay. Because I mean, it's just you can't buy that stuff. It's
Right.
hard work and it's individual creativity that kind of births these awesome cosplays. And I remember one cosplayer in particular, Steven Skylar Dean, uh, does a fantastic job. I think I forget what the exact cosplay was, but he had these giant metal wings coming off his back that looked like absolutely epic. And because we only had so many cosplayers in the hallway scene where the Rockets enter, and we have the first face off with the Xander Rules crew and the Rockets. I had him stand in the far background in the room that you see later in the film where the announcer is and the cosplay competition takes place, because I wanted to make it look like it was a full environment all the way back. So I was like, Steven, I need you to come with me. You're going to stand right here. I know it seems like I'm putting you in the background, and I kind of am for this shot, but you are representing hundreds of people in this room over here, and your giant cosplay, which takes up the entire doorway from even like 5 feet back from the door, is going to make it look like we've got a full room over there as well. So it was it was pretty cool.
And with the casting too, like I've cast a bunch of series and short films up until that point. And one of the things when you have a low budget and it's an indie project, you want to make sure that you're casting people that you want to work with,
Yeah.
like that you can easily tell. You get a sense of a feel for people. And so especially with ZombieCon Vol 1, when people came in and they said, "Oh, I'm a huge horror nerd," or "I love zombies," or "I love cosplay. I go to cons." I was like, all right, you're already like halfway there. I'm interested in you right now. I'm paying attention. So as an actor, my whole life, that was totally different. The whole, being casting director, you really get more of a sense of they're not just looking at you as an actor. They're looking at, are you going to be great to work with? What will you bring to the team and the day of the shoot? It's really important.
Yeah, and you found Mike Ferguson, who is going on. Have you seen any of his films? I know he's doing a ton of horror stuff.
The Boatyard, I think, is his current one that's
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, he's like really blown up, especially in the indie horror scene,
Oh
like,
yeah.
and done a bajillion projects.
He came in and he's got like he had at the time face tattoos, sleeves, everything, and he's this big, maybe like 6'2" guy, muscular. And he comes in, he's like, I know I look scary and intimidating, but I'm just like this huge nerdy teddy bear. And I'm like, okay, I love you already.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He's a great guy.
Great guy to work with.
Um, I'm curious. So how spunky is Punky, like in real life?
Oh, she's awesome.
She's
She
amazing.
is. So when I first got to LA, I was doing this acting boot camp, just to try to learn the craft, and
Right.
that's where I met Punky. And we realized we were both like way overpaying for these single bedroom apartments, and it was like kind of the place where you land, where the boot camp
Shout
is
out
like.
Oakwood.
Yeah, Oakwood. It's a place where people like stay temporarily. They're fully furnished. So if you're just kind of coming
Okay.
to LA as a new actor, it's where you get pointed to a lot. And it's right near Universal Studios out there, which I thought was cool because I used to like go out and do like the backlot tour. And that was like kind of my peaceful place to rest in this new city, which was absolutely insane. And once we figure out we're both paying way too much for these single bedroom units, we were looking around like, what about 2 bedroom places? And we found like super nice places for really good prices, way under what we were paying combined, and
Uh,
moved in together. And yeah, just a lifelong best friend. And yeah, in real life, she is she is one of the coolest people and best people that you'd ever want to be friends with and like have in your corner, because she'll fight for you, she'll love you, she'll give you a big hug when you need it, and then she'll give you a slap in the ass and be like, you need to suck it up and get back out there and do something about this. Like she's just a truly one of the best people that I know. Yeah.
You could meet her once in person, and years later, you'll be like, man, I would love to see her again. She's so amazing. I've never met anyone that's met her and not been like, oh my God, that's one of my favorite people in the world. She's just genuinely that cool and that funny.
Yeah.
yeah, one thing that I mean, obviously because of the what the movie is, but like all the anime references and like and the other things that I was so blown away by because like I'm a big Dragon Ball person. So when I
Nice.
saw like those outfits, I was like, this movie's already like the best. It's like I was so dialed in like instantly. I was like, oh, I was like, I want that jacket. Um,
Dude, that was one of the most fun things, was getting all the anime stuff. Like again, tiny budget, but I got to justify, oh, I could go on Amazon and buy a bunch of anime stuff. Like I never spent that much money on especially wall scrolls. I only had one wall scroll as a kid. And of course it was Goku Super Saiyan 1 on Namek. And I always wanted more, but I grew up in the 90s too. I would preface all this with growing up in the 90s, anime stuff was a lot harder to come by than it is now. Now it's like you could find it at like, Hot Toy or whatever, Spencer's or anything,
yeah.
Hot
basic Hot
topic.
Topic.
Mm.
Yeah. And I got to go on Amazon and like fill out this room with like all my favorite anime stuff and like try to create like the Goku cosplay. I don't know if you caught I'm sure you did, but it was like when they're getting ready to go out and the Punky gives that great speech to Rocket, but Javier is wearing orange pants with a blue belt.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was his Goku
Did
cosplay
he
that
have
he
the
was
turtle
getting
skull on the
ready to
back
go
of
out.
on the back of his shirt?
Did he have what?
The
Oh, that was
turtle
for the
skull?
rooftop where
Oh
he was
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
in the jacket. Oh yeah. I mean, there's endless anime and cosplay references. That's awesome that you were watching. Was it the trailer that you were watching? You're like, okay, I see some Dragon Ball. I'm in.
So the what is it? The Chucky right here. I think I have Spencer's also.
Oh
It's a
yeah, I see.
yeah, a wood part, wood poster kind of style. It does light up, but for some reason it doesn't have an on switch, so I have to take the battery out so it doesn't like burn out. Um,
Yeah, I hear you.
man, I don't so like, while the action scenes are happening and there's just like blood squirting everywhere, like how annoying was that to like be all caked up in, fake blood and color and all that stuff.
Honestly, it felt epic. It didn't, I wouldn't even say that it ever felt like annoying. The only annoying part was at the end of the night when the shoot's done and you're showering and like your hair is so crunchy that you're like, as you're washing it, worrying that it's about to break and fall off, which obviously we were using professional grade fake SFX blood. It wasn't going to do that, but it was just epic. It's strange how it started to feel just normal to just end the day and be caked in fake, sugary, gross, syrupy blood and like find it everywhere around you. Everywhere you've been, you're like leaving a trail. And then with the Gamora cosplay, like you're taking a shower and you look down, there's just like green. The bathtub is just stained green. It after a month of shooting in this way, it felt totally normal.
Yeah. I can't really tell you what the blood felt like. I just know what it was like to tell our makeup artist Joseph Duresco, who did a fantastic
He's
job,
amazing.
where to spray it. And he's like, "You want me to get it in their mouths?" I said, "Yes." Mouths, eyes, any place you get it in. I want this spray to be uncontrollable.
Yeah, and
Chaos.
I got to be the first one to get sprayed, so I was totally excited for when Punky got sprayed, Christian got the face full, Rocket, even Xander got a huge face full as well. And I'm just like, I know what's coming. I can't wait to hear your experience of this because it's cold too. I don't know why. It's not like it was just stored in the general, room temperature. But when it hits you all at once, it's just it helped with the acting because there wasn't a ton of acting going on there. It's shocking.
Yeah,
Oh,
Joe
yeah.
actually used a like a weed, it was like a weed sprayer.
Yeah.
So like one of those long little tube thingies, and you pump up little canister. And he showed me how he did it. He took like regular, or not regular, but high end stage blood, and he watered it down so it would move uh, more quickly
True.
through the tube.
Yeah.
And he just pump up his little canister and just
And because it was, true indie, you're like on top of each other. He's just out of frame. So often he'd be in between an actor's legs, like shooting it up
yeah.
at them or like just off to the side of camera, but like, maybe from like a foot away from you, you're getting a face full of it. It was really cool.
Yeah, it'd actually be cool. Now I'm thinking about it. I try to figure out a way to get it like hooked onto the camera rig. So like the blood comes from the camera for the next one.
ZombieCon Vol 2.
Yeah,
Stay tuned.
it'll be fun.
Go back to like some kind of corn, something that doesn't block the I don't know, the just the besides ZombieCon, like what has been like some of your like inspirations for like horror films?
Now, I'd say that in terms of, so for ZombieCon itself, I'm not sure, apart from, I think that first off, I was trying to distance myself from finding any kind of inspiration that was too close, because I was trying to do my best to make it as original as possible. I think a lot of elements of my favorite films bled into it. I think uh there's a lot of the Dead series that comes in and out unintentionally, just because it's so kind of melted into my brain.
Yeah.
And a lot of Shaun of the Dead references, like in terms of saving the mom, which I didn't even really think about at the time, but after the fact, you're like, oh yeah, that is kind of similar. But in terms of horror films that I love, that informed me a lot for, like, I think internally on how to make the bad guys like bigger than life, right? So a
Right.
lot of Mike Myers was like, that was always the thing that got me the most. I don't know why. Freddy Krueger, I could definitely get behind. It was obviously love the films, but in terms of like your titular '80s like horror bad guy, Jason was obviously cool too. Mike Myers, for some reason, just always scared the absolute crap out of me as a kid. That and It, to be honest, those were like the two that I could not watch and like sleep well afterwards. I could do Freddy Krueger pretty good, could do Jason pretty good, but those two were always like, get ready for a restless night of sleep, especially with It, which was like, it used to be on laser disc, so you'd have like, it was like on four different laser discs, and you had to flip
Yeah.
it every single time. So you're like getting up and changing the disc and doing all this. And there was a window in that room too that was like right behind you. So like everything you're watching in front of you just feel like something could be like literally breathing on your neck. And definitely added to the experience, I'll say. And also I'd say like Blair Witch Project, I was at the right age where that movie was properly terrifying, like especially in
Okay.
the way I saw it. Like we watched it at one of my friend's houses for the first time at his birthday party, and the room was like in the woods kind of, so like you felt like you were basically, I mean, this room had a tree growing in the middle of it out through the ceiling. His dad was an architect,
Okay.
but like you felt like you were in the woods with them, and that just made for a really unique and awesome movie watching experience. Like, and especially being at that age, like, just like 12, 13 years old, it's like prime time for just scaring the crap out of you.
I was such a scaredy cat. Now, looking back, I guess that the one that really got me was What Lies Beneath with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. Terrifying. It was at a friend's house and her older sister was watching it, and we were like peeking around the corner like, "Oh, we're not supposed to be watching this, but we're watching this." And I remember the scene after I watched the scene where she's in the bathtub and like the ghost thing comes out. I was terrified to take a bath for like a year.
Oh yeah, and I've got to bring up Frighteners, which is like kind of a genre bending horror film, because it's not like strictly horror. It kind of has like, I thought I was going into Ghostbusters,
Mm.
but it wasn't. Like, I thought it'd be like a lot more. Michael J. Fox, I think, plays is the main character in that. And you know, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be Back to the Future, Ghostbusters type thing. And then the villain, like the dark entity that like scared the crap out of the actual ghosts, like that
Yeah,
was horrifying to me. And
like
like
a big
he
concept.
like traveled through the walls. And then Poltergeist 2 was also, I had a tree right outside my window growing up that looked eerily similar to the tree in Poltergeist. And I was like, that horrified me. It was like pretty bad.
And the
It's funny.
ring. The ring was scary.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
The Ring was
yeah.
good. The Grudge,
The
right?
Grudge was
That was another great one.
horrifying.
Like,
Oh my God.
man,
That was
Well,
horrifying.
Japanese horror is like on a different level too. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, the yokai, right? All based off yokai. It's
yeah,
just like these awesome, like demonic spirits that have like this. The lore on them is just crazy because I've just started kind of dipping my toe into that because I kind of want to introduce some of those elements into future movies. And I'm like, well, how could I adapt yokai to be a more kind of domestic U.S. like entity, because we have our own right entities here in the US. Right, growing up in New Jersey, the Jersey Devil, right? We've got a bunch of those little kind of. I think there's like the swamp monster or something in Florida. Like I remember watching all these cryptid videos where they talk about like these local monsters and stuff. Trying to merge those two worlds. I haven't gotten there yet, but the ideas are percolating. So
it's funny.
hopefully in the
I
future.
growing up, my grandma had like hobo clowns, like figurines, and
Nice.
for some reason they always like scared the shit out of me. Like, and then like it came out, like all that stuff was like happening, and like so there'd be this little like hobo clown figurines like staring at me every day, like especially at night. To be like, I'm like, why the fuck are they?
And I love how you have the Chucky right behind you too as you're saying this.
I just got that
That's
for my birthday. It's my favorite thing.
it's awesome.
That's awesome.
I absolutely love it. There was another thing I was gonna say, but then so like it's funny because like my introduction to horror was I wasn't supposed to watch it, right? And I think it was somewhere between like 5 and 7, and my brother rented a VHS tape, at the video store. Obviously, this is the '90s, right? So um and like it was one of those that was like unmarked, you know. So like so I accidentally started watching Faces of Death, and you probably know what that is.
Yeah, that's a pretty rough age to be introduced to that.
Oh yeah. Well, I snuck in. It was in like my mom didn't even know what it was. It was like a skull on a VHS tape. That's all it was.
Oh
And it
God.
was like no description. And like all of a sudden you just see all these people dying on film, and I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
But you couldn't stop watching.
Yeah, and because I was terrified, I was just like, I don't know what to do. And then my mom turned around, she was pissed at me, like, But then she had to sit down with me, and she was like, look, like that stuff you're watching on there, it's like it's not real, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, well, how do they do that? Kind of thing. And in my mind just starts going. I'm like, oh, well, now I want to see all of them. Like all the other, not just that series, but all the other classics, and stuff like that. So over time, I was like, well, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, like all these different, things. But I didn't know I was going to be like introduced to like smut films. So that
It's a
was
great intro.
yeah, the
That's
best
definitely
intro.
getting thrown into the deep end.
Yeah.
Like, well, let's hope you can swim. Let's go.
Yeah.
Um, so what about like other inspirations besides like horror films? Like, what is like some of your go-tos?
Well, like we talked about previously, if I have a headache, it's gonna be Infinity Wars. But
Or
I'd say like on my tier, like so I've been doing a lot of anime recently just to kind of get away from the film stuff because like I'm looking at movies all day. But if I've got to go in and I've got 2 hours, which is rare nowadays with the newborn, because like we're trying to limit her screen time, and so which is tough in this house to begin with. But it's kind of it's cramping our movie watching style a little bit. But in terms of like some of my peak favorite movies that I've seen more times than I could possibly recount, Aliens is probably at the very top of the list. Alien, of course, Terminator 2, Terminator. So I know there's pretty standard answers. I feel like that's everyone loves those films.
Yeah.
But then if you get away from kind of sci-fi, Gladiator, basically all
Mm.
Ridley Scott from like the 90s into the 2010s, uh, some of the best films ever committed to celluloid. And then outside of that, and like more a newer film, well, Fight Club, I'd definitely throw in there. That was a fantastic film. And then Christopher Nolan, especially with oh my Inception, which I really liked Inception. I thought that was super unique because it was a totally different kind of way to look at, that whole type of action genre with the multi layers and going through the dream sequences. And generally I like everything as long as it's like got good characters, a strong plot, good cinematography. I'm kind of on board with every film, but those would be the ones that I would kind of go back to, which seem, I think, a little bit vanilla, like nothing truly unique in the realm of like, I can't think of one that would be like a super obscure. Oh, I've got one actually. This is probably one that very few people have seen. The Japanese
One
one,
Cut of the Dead.
One Cut of the Dead. That's been one of my most recent like favorite films that I've watched a couple times because it just recently came out on Apple, and so priorly it was only out on DVD, which I do have, but I don't have the DVD system set up in this like since we moved, so but I've got to watch it on Apple. But One Cut of the Dead has been fantastic. That's like my newest, most obscure favorite film.
Have you seen it?
No,
A
no.
You're in
strong,
for a
strong.
treat.
I won't say anything about it because
Okay.
it's huge. Just
Go
say,
in blind.
yeah,
Don't
don't look
research
up
it.
anything on it. Just watch it. Yeah, you will not disappoint. I promise.
Have you guys seen Casher?
No,
Hmm.
I don't think so.
Okay, it came out like 2004, I want to say. It's hard to find, but they have it on YouTube. Look it up. Casshern. It's dubbed, obviously, but it's one of those like at the time, like very like high driven, like it was just done so crazy, but like I don't know. Somebody showed it to me like back in the day, and I was like, whoa, they put a lot of originality into this, film or whatever. But what about you, Aaron? Like what are some of those other things that you like?
It's so tough because a lot of mine would mirror Kyle's. I mean, it's been one of our favorite pastimes is at the end of the day, up until when we had a kid, it was
Yeah.
all right, now we can hard break after dealing with movies all day long. What are we gonna do? We're gonna watch a movie or we're gonna watch an anime. And it's great busman's holiday there. But what's kind of been cool in our journey is that Kyle was always a big proponent, like we should buy instead of rent. And so over, all of our years together, we have amassed an insane movie collection digitally
Well, it's also physical. I
and
love
physical
collective physical
and
media.
physical. But
Yeah,
it's like, all right, pop open the library. What do we want to watch? And we always love looking at what's out, what's new, especially if it's indie. Let's check it out. Let's give it a shot. So we'll watch trailers, and it's just, I'm as much as I like my favorite movies, I really enjoy the process of let's sit down and discover something new. Let's watch a trailer of this random film we know nothing about. Okay, let's give it a shot. Let's buy it, add it to the collection. And you discover a lot of really random movies that way too.
yeah, and I would also say now that I've had a second to actually continue thinking about this, I do want to throw in like some older movies, which I'm like Lawrence of Arabia is one of my favorite movies. Which for being like a 3.5 hour movie, I've watched it. I've spent days watching that film because I've rewatched it so many times. And then
And Kubrick.
Right. Well, yeah, any Kubrick film. And then Alfred Hitchcock. Really, we've got his whole like he came out with a Velvet box set when I was like, I think I was just in high school or leaving college. And I remember I found it and that thing's gone with me everywhere. So I've watched probably all of his films that are available. I think there are a couple that are a little bit harder to get, like his first couple of films. But
Mm.
But then talking about more recently too, we've really been enjoying a lot of the original series on Apple TV, Apple TV Plus.
yeah,
It's
they
amazing, like the quality, because they don't put out as much as some of the other streaming services, but it seems like they must be really taking their time and working quality control because
yeah,
they've had some bangers.
there's a new one with Jason Momoa that's pretty cool. He's like a tribal chief in Hawaii, and they've got like a British sailing ship, or I don't know if it's like a mixed crew of American and British people, and It looks like they're setting up to be like a giant, massive war or something. I won't say anything else, but it's pretty awesome. And then Silo on that streaming service too has been pretty awesome.
And
I was just
Smoke
gonna
and Your
talk
Friends and
about it.
Neighbors. Yeah.
You like Silo?
I didn't watch it, but my buddy was telling me about it. He's like, that's the one you got to watch if you have Apple Plus, and I don't have Apple Plus, but um, maybe one day. I don't know.
It's worth checking out. I'd say like wait for the next season to come out because it has to be coming out soon. I would expect. I have not heard anything, but if you wait till next season, then I think you're backed up. You'll get 3 seasons. Boom, boom, boom. Which I don't know. I like to binge watch. So
Right. I always recommend this one film. It's a New Zealand you know independent film. I think it came out in the '90s. It's called Once We're Warriors.
Hmm.
Um, if you like dramas, it's very like grounded in what feels like to me reality because of like stuff that I've witnessed growing up and all that stuff. So like if you want a good with good characters, great actors. Like Once We're Warriors is definitely one of those things that you should definitely check out. Um, one of the actors or two of the actors became very big in like voiceover acting, acting later on in like Star Wars projects and all that stuff like that. So I highly recommend, that one if you guys have time.
I
Um,
feel I feel the name sounds so familiar. I'll look it up after we get off this because I'm pretty sure I've seen that because the name sounds super familiar. And I have to just throw in a couple more things about favorite movies because you just reminded me with New Zealand, like Lord of the Rings. I mean,
Of
that's probably
course.
three of my favorite movies of absolutely all time. All three of them. The Hobbits,
Sorry,
the Hobbits
Hobbit.
are
You're
pretty
still
good,
up
but
there.
the Lord of the Rings, like, just absolutely some of the best films. And Peter Jackson overall is pretty much, and Guillermo del Toro, all of his stuff, Shape of Water, like, yeah. So, anyway, again, basically any good movie, any movie that ranks in the general person's like top end, I have seen and rewatched probably 4 to 5 times.
I
I
got a
can never get.
guilty.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say I got a guilty hankering for The Accountant. I don't know what it
Oh, that's
is
a good
about
film.
that movie with Ben
I
Affleck,
just
and I'm
watched it.
excited. I haven't seen the sequel yet. I'm dying to. With our baby, it's been difficult to get out. But that's one, just like you always rewatch Infinity War. I could always rewatch The Accountant. I think it's awesome.
Um, what was I gonna say? Forgot. Oh, I can never get past Kevin Smith making fun of Lord of the Rings. It just like not getting past it, but like ever since like I saw that clip, I was like, yeah, he's kind of right. But
I haven't seen that clip. I've watched a whole bunch of Kevin Smith interviews. Was that at a Comic Con or something, or was that an off the cuff?
He's on Clerks too. He makes fun of it like pretty hardcore.
Oh,
Oh my god! Well, I haven't
Yeah,
seen it, but I'll have to watch it. I love Kevin Smith, like his films as well. I mean, we've seen even his obscure titles, which I mean, The Walrus is one of the most horrific body like
body morphine.
body morph. Yeah,
Yeah,
like that is that was grotesque. Like I that movie was it was a crazy film.
he's one of the people that I for sure want to meet in real life. Because he's such a, I mean, just beyond film, he's such a storyteller and like he will talk your ear off. Like, but I like that because I'm like, me personally, like, it's hard for me to talk for more than X amount of time, without being like, all right, I'm kind of checked out.
I hear you.
time to sit down and watch a movie.
Yeah, I was actually gonna. Yes,
Like,
I think I've actually got the. It's we were at the
Smod Castle.
Smod Castle, so it's Kevin Smith's Film Festival last year. It's where we showed ZombieCon Volume One, and they
wow,
have a store that's like called the Secret Stash, and they saw a whole bunch of Clerk stuff. And I actually picked these up. They were like a really good deal, both Tusk and Clerk, signed by Kevin Smith, and it was like
that's
20 bucks per movie. It was like they're $20 anyway. I'll definitely pick these up.
I would have died to get those.
We were
Um,
so sad Kevin Smith had, I think it was COVID
Yeah,
last
he had
year at the
COVID,
festival because we were looking forward to meeting
but
him.
I would say if you have time to go to the Smod Castle Film Festival, he's usually there. He presents the awards. We didn't meet him, but we met all the other people who ran it, like the nicest group of film buffs you could ever meet. This guy named Tommy is like over the top nice, and he handles all of the he like repairs projectors and stuff and does a ton of stuff
Steven.
with Steven. I'm
It's okay.
losing my mind. But yeah, Steven was just an absolute gentleman, and just picking his brain on how cameras but really projectors work and the different bulbs and stuff was it was one of the coolest experiences ever. And if Kevin Smith, is there and not sick, obviously doesn't have COVID, and you attend, you probably be able to talk to him for an extended period of time, because it's not a huge film festival. There are like a couple hundred people,
Mhm.
but everyone's super accessible, and it's really just a bunch of people who love movies. Like, it's what you would normally think of a film festival being. There's no like there's not really like step and repeats everywhere. There are no big corporate sponsors from what I could tell. It was just kind of like you're there because you love movies, which
Yeah.
is
And
like,
this year they're doing their first, I think it's Smod Castle Horror Fest is the
yeah,
name, but
oh yeah.
that's the day after Halloween, November 1st. So they're branching out too.
That's awesome. Is
If
that
you
in New
ever
Jersey?
time. New Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah. It's like kind of like the portion of New Jersey that Kevin Smith kind of, I know he doesn't own all of that thing, but like it's like where he is like set
Like
up
Red
shop.
Banks,
And yeah, Red Bank, I think
I
it
think
is.
so.
And they actually filmed the 4:30 movie, which was one of, I think it was his most recent film, but they filmed the 4:30 movie in the movie theater where they hold Smod Castle. And actually, we got to see a cut of the 4:30 movie in the actual theater where they filmed the scenes for the movie
The
itself.
very room.
So
The
It was
cool.
exact
cool.
same theater. It was like, that was so cool.
It
Yeah.
was movie going Inception.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I think we hit a mark. I think I've spent a lot of you guys' time, and this was just fantastic to me. I mean, you guys are so cool. And enjoyed every moment. The time we had to talk about ZombieCon, and whatnot. I really hope whatever you guys do in the future just blows up, and you guys just, you guys hit it big or something, because you guys are so cool and just great to talk to. Um, if you need
Likewise, and
any,
thank you for having us
if you
on.
if you need any zombies to kill in the future, please hit us up.
You know it. Dude, this has been an absolute blast. And it's just fun to be able to pick apart and talk about movies with other film fanatics. It's like, I know that they're everywhere, but you
Yeah,
rarely get like this type of quality conversation. It's been awesome, man.
Thank you so much for inviting us
Thank you.
on and for watching our film and allowing us to come and sit here and bloviate on films that we love too. It's been an absolute
Yeah, and
pleasure.
if we need any zombies, we'll definitely give you a call. We definitely
please
will
do.
for ZombieCon too.
Please do. Yeah, again, I love the film. There was so many references and things I love about it. And plus, I love zombie stuff anyway. So I was so stoked when you like, messaged our account, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna like check it out. Of course, I'm gonna check it out. I was so excited, and thank you again for spending the time and doing everything you do. So. For those that are listening, you can find me on the IG at Kelly_DTO, or the the channel for the podcast is Beyond the underscore Ether on the IG. Um, and if there's any socials you guys want to plug in, please do.
Yeah, come visit us on Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. It's all the same handle at ZombieCon Movie. And our website, ZombieCon Vol1. That's the number 1.com. You can find the links to where to watch the film. Would love for you guys to check it out. Definitely message us, write a review on Letterboxd, whatever you want. Just let us know what you think because we love hearing everyone's feedback.
Yeah, and
It's
then
been one of the best parts.
definitely. And then I'll just plug the It's Watching, which is that horror film I touched on earlier that we filmed in this house. That'll be hopefully making its festival circuit debut later this year, possibly even at Smodcastle Horror Festival.
We're hopeful.
So we'll see. But yeah, would love to hear everyone's thoughts on that too.
Can't wait to watch it. All right, well, you guys have a great day. I'm getting ready for work, so.
All right.
We're
Well,
we're getting ready to go back to our baby.
Yep. And I'm gonna get back to work.
I'll go back to the baby. You can go back to work. It's
all
been
right.
a
Well,
pleasure. Thanks again so much for
thank you
having
so
us
much for
on.
everything. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
You too.